Are you looking for an escape from manufactured truth wrapped in selfish agenda? Don't you just want to have a real and raw conversation, all masks and rules aside? That's what you're getting here at Titan Evolution Podcast. Get rid of all the nonsense information and discuss everything under the sun without filters. Listen to real stories of real people who will put your current perspectives to the test, guide you on living the life you truly want, and see everything free from judgment and pretenses. Time to get rid of those unhealthy environments and let your authentic self shine. Here are your hosts, Travis Johnson and Carol Carpenter.
Hey, welcome back to the show. I'm here with my co-host, Carol Carpenter, and our guest today, Ira Bowman. Ira is the head of Bowman Digital Media. He's got like nearly 200,000 followers on LinkedIn and over 100,000 on Instagram, which is one of the reasons we love him. But another reason we love him is he's a real dude, and that's why we wanted to bring him on the show, the Titan Evolution Podcast, so we could hear that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's actually stuff, hidden layers beneath people. Ira, how the heck are you?
I'm hanging in there. How about you, Travis? Thank you
Also hanging
for
in
having
there.
me on the show, and thank you, Carol, for having me on the show.
Oh, our pleasure.
Hey, Ira, give us a little bit of your background, who you are, what you do.
Yeah, so
Don't give the sales pitch though, Ira.
No,
Just like
oh, okay. Well, how long do you want me to go? I mean,
Can't possibly go longer
how
than
deep
our
of an
last
intro do
guest.
you want? So I'll just do like a 60-second intro. How about that? So I'm a product of divorce. I know this is going to sound weird, but I'm going somewhere with those. I'm a product of a divorce. Both my parents were divorced several times each, and so I moved around a lot as a kid. As an adult, I got married relatively young. I have 8 kids with my wife, but I got married at 23 before I actually finished college. And the next 20 or so years of my life, we bounced around like a pinball, because as my family grew, I needed to make more money. As I needed to make more money, I had to go where the opportunity was. So kind of this theme of chasing a rabbit, if you will. Now, as a adult in 2013, I graduated college. It took me 18 years to graduate college. But when I did that, the goal was to kind of set some roots and not have to move anymore. I worked for 20 years in the print business. I started in sales, just doing sales of large format equipment. And then about 10 years into it, I switched gears and started selling the output. And so that got me into graphic design. And over the last 20 years, that's what I envisioned myself doing, always being an employee, always working in the print and graphics space, because frankly, I liked it and I was good at it. But in 2020, I took a job down here in Southern California for a company that I had worked for once before in Las Vegas. And the idea was to come here and retire. But whenever you think you have a plan, God has a way of like smacking you and saying, ha ha, that's funny. So 5 months after I took that job in Southern California, I got laid off because COVID happened. So I started a business. I'm a business owner now. I'm in the digital media space. So I still do graphic design, but now I do photography, website development, SEO, videography. I think I've said them all. There are 6 services in total. Anyways, I do that. I have a staff. I just actually downsized a little bit, so we can talk about that too. I had swollen my staff, and then I just shrunk my staff for some reasons that we can get into. But anyways, that's it. Life is messy. There's a lot of layers there. My wife and kids aren't thrilled that we've moved, I think 8 or 9 times in 20 years, but we have moved a lot. And through it all, I never thought I would be a business owner, because frankly, with a large family, I was committed to the thought that I couldn't afford not to have the paycheck. I couldn't afford not to have the benefits. And forgive the term, was a slave to being an employee, I thought, because of my situation. I didn't think I could escape it. Now that was not correct thinking. And, I'm glad that I figured this out. But anyways, there's a lot to unpack there. So I went over 60 seconds, sorry.
it's all good. So do you find that we're like conditioned in our society to believe that we need to receive a paycheck? And, okay, let's just go through the formula, right? We go to school, we go to university, we get married, we have kids, and this is programmed into us at such a young age that we just think that's the right path. But as entrepreneurs, now that we are entrepreneurs, if I can actually spit that out, we kind of recognize the fact that that was the wrong pattern and the wrong formula to be considering.
Well, I have 8 kids. Okay. So I can't speak for everybody's kids, but I can speak to mine. I'm an entrepreneur. My wife actually was a business owner before I was. She started working for a company called Sensi, and she does independent sales of Sensi products. 8 of our kids, not one of them is talking about being a business owner. Not one of them. I just had a kid graduate with over 4.0 in high school. He's my third to finish high school. He's going to school to be a software engineer. This kid is extremely smart. Never once have I heard him utter the phrase, "Dad, I want to take over your business," or "Dad, I want to start my own business." It's all about getting that degree so that they can go get a job with Google or whatever. And I'm like, don't you guys understand? I make more money now than I've ever made in my life. I'm not any smarter than I was. I don't work any harder than I did. I'm not any more committed to being good at my craft. The difference is I'm at the head of the chain here, right? And so,
but you're in charge of your own destiny,
right?
Versus helping somebody else make money.
No, I completely agree. And this is the thing. It's a blessing now. I have employees, right? And I get to be a blessing to other people. But this is what I'm trying to say. No, to answer your question directly, they don't encourage you. At least I was never encouraged anywhere along the way to think about being my own business owner. Not at school, not by counselors, not by other employers. In fact, one time I got called into the owner's office of a company I was working at because I started my philanthropy project, Help You Grow, and they were afraid that I was trying to start my own business and I was going to leave them and they were going to discipline me. And I was like, wait a minute, this is a nonprofit. I'm not making anything. I'm spending money to make this thing go, but that's that fear-based or whatever you want to talk about. And I actually want to consider this too. Not everybody has to go to university. In fact, I would say that a lot of people should consider trade schools instead of going to university, because where you are at when you get out of a college university is a lot of times in extreme debt. I'm talking 80, 90, 100 plus $1,000 in debt. And the salary that you can expect to make is not much different than if you go to a 1-year or 2-year trade school with no debt and a job that pays you darn near the same, right? So we need trades too. And there are schools out there like Blue University that help train entrepreneurs that you can do for $6,000, $6,000 for 1 year training. Blue University is a steal of a deal.
By the way, hundreds of $1,000s in debt that you have to pay back over time. I mean, that is a looming debt that you have.
No, right. 100% right. In fact, I just tried to explain this to my son, who's going to be going into that kind of debt. By the time he's done, he's going to probably owe about $72,000 based on the current math. And I'm like, that's a lot of money to have to pay back.
Well, here's the deal. Here's the deal with that. You do not have to go into that kind of debt to attend school. Anyone that, if you're out there listening, anyone that's told you that, it's a complete lie, because there are dozens of different pathways alone. And there's hundreds of millions of dollars in unused scholarship money every year. There's apps like Scholar, FastWeb, scholarships.com, where you can sit and you can apply for these things while you're in your senior year of high school over lunch, and you can get 5, 10, 15 applications a day done, and you don't have to worry about
another thing that people could do. There's junior colleges out there. If you're going to go to a four-year university to graduate, look, the world lies to you. If you think you're going to go to USC or Harvard or any of these schools and get top rated professors teaching you underclass work. So your frosh year and your soft year, you're going to be getting teacher's assistants. If you don't know that, welcome to reality. You're not even getting the professors you're paying for. So why go to that school for 4 years when you could go to a junior college for 2 years, get your general ed stuff done, then go and get your upper level classes done from the school that you're actually getting what you pay for, and you still get the degree, the same exact degree as everybody who went there for 4 years, but half the cost.
The cost. I know, it's ridiculous. But you know, like I started out pre-med, right? And the only way to be a doctor is you have to go through the process. And so you go into debt like crazy before you ever come out. And what's the guarantee that you're going to end up, you know, doing what you really truly wanted when you have that debt looming over your head and you're like basically trying to take any job you can to start reducing it?
Well, I actually think it's insane that people expect to know what they're going to do for a living, even when they start college, let alone I've got kids in junior high school, they're expecting these kids to pick a track so they can specialize in medicine or software or whatever in junior high.
They barely know who they are, less than what they want to do for a living.
That's what I'm saying, right? It's crazy that we want to lock kids in so early and expect them to have it all figured out. I'm telling you, our education system is a complete mess. But again, back to
it's doing exactly what it was designed to do. It was designed to create people that would go to work, pay taxes, and not ask too many questions. We're just not okay with what it was designed to do. But it's doing exactly what it was designed for.
Yeah, I think that parents have to take the onus on themselves, you know, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror here. I'm not trying to make anybody else feel bad. It's like, I need to do a better job of educating my kids on what it is that is possible and seeing different paths to get there, because I thought that I was locked into a certain life, and it wasn't a life that made me happy. Frankly, I was not happy. I always wanted more. Right. I wanted to be.
Didn't know at that point.
But I wanted promotions and I wanted more responsibility. And it wasn't because, you know, I wasn't happy with the work I was doing. I knew I was capable of more. And so that left me longing for things and unsatisfied. And frankly, if we're going to be completely transparent on the show, which I think we can, it left me depressed. Okay. For a long time, I felt inadequate. I felt unfulfilled. And that spilled over into my personal life, which created problems. Right. But then I became a workaholic trying to achieve these things.
Right.
And provide for a family that, you know, is super expensive because of the size of
well,
the
let's
family.
just put it this way. You don't know what you don't know. Right. And the fact that you've seen what you can actually accomplish and you can actually relay these things to your kids. They actually, for the first time, probably realize when you talk to them about this, that they have options. And for most of us, we didn't know we had options.
Well, I think for my oldest 3 kids, it was too late. But I think for my younger wave, I've got a kid who just entered high school, and I've got one that just entered junior high, and 3 more in elementary school still. And I have a special needs kid now. But for them,
which, by the way, we kind of like to talk about that too, because I know, first of all, 8 kids, you know, is here. I thought 2 was plenty, but 8 is ridiculous.
8 is enough. My wife says hashtag.
Yeah. Have you gotten snipped yet, Ira?
I have not. In fact, it's embarrassing to admit this, but I was using up to 2 years ago a hashtag strive for 9.
Oh, good Lord. Nope.
There you go.
Nope. The only people I've ever known to go past that number are families that, you know, they ended up having lots and lots of girls, and literally one after the other, right? And I had a friend, their entire family, all the kids, they're Italian and Catholic. And it went from like Tia to Gia to Mia, and the husband, and no joke, it was the cutest thing, go figure, but he wanted a boy. And so they kept trying and trying. After, I think, like the 9th one, they stopped, because they were clearly not supposed to have a boy in that mixture.
If anybody thinks that God doesn't have a sense of humor, there you go.
Right.
But Ira, you bring up a great point talking about how parents need to be involved in their kids' lives. We as a society, especially in American society, are very busy. We work as a badge of honor. We walk around and say, "Oh, how are you? Oh, I'm so busy." And I think it's a terrible thing to say, but a lot of people love saying it. And because there's just so much to do, or that we've chosen to do so much, we end up abdicating responsibility for our kids' schooling and for our country, right? We we elect officials and we abdicate responsibility for them. We say, hey, go fix it. When they don't, we're like, what the heck? But we give no support. Same with our kids. We're abdicating responsibility to the school system and then wonder why we're not getting a quality product, because we're not taking any kind of control, any kind of personal responsibility. And I have to include myself in this. That's something that I've not done a good job at. Fortunately for me, I've recently retired from the Navy, but I have tons of time with my son, but my daughter didn't get that kind of time with me.
Yeah. Well, I'm probably as guilty as anybody could ever be. I'm one step better than an absentee father. I'm just being completely transparent here. I have not spent much time at all with my kids. I've defaulted or deflected that responsibility to my wife. And I tell you that my kids resent that, right? So it's come at a very high opportunity cost for me. The chance to provide for them. I mean, part of this is the way I was raised, right? So, I mean, just getting real, I thought that the man's job is to provide. And then the next thing the man's supposed to do is keep the family safe. So if you ask me how I did on those two tasks, I think I've done pretty well. My kids have never gone hungry. They've always had, shoes and a roof and all those things, right? I mean, I'm not expecting.
What they've missed is essentially the time with you in the process.
I've robbed them. Okay, I'm going to actually use the word rob. I've robbed them of getting to know who I really am, right? They don't know me. They don't know how I think. They don't know the things that are important to me. They don't even know why I do the things I do, which is embarrassing to admit. But again, we're getting real here, right? So
that's not an embarrassment. We there's a lot of things that we do that we try to attach feelings to, and normally it's a bad feeling. When you have kids, your job is to parent, and then when they become adults, then you have the opportunity for them to become friends and really understand who you are. But having that parent role, please don't attach feeling to it like it's some kind of guilt or shame.
Well, I could do better. So
we all could do better, but we're barely 100 years into having childhood as a thing in this country, because child labor laws didn't come into effect until the early 1900s. Because kids were going to work at 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
So we haven't figured it out as a society yet. So don't put it all on your shoulders, my friend.
Well, but to be fair too, Ira, your children have every opportunity to come to you and be interested. I mean, it's not, I don't think the onus is completely on you. If they had questions, why wouldn't they come to you? I mean, eventually, I know when your kids get older, then they start having some type of interest in what you're doing, but you can't put all the onus on you either. I mean, you're trying to provide them a life, and it is your responsibility, or you own that responsibility, right? And
I own that part. I have no problem with that part, and I'm not embarrassed about anything I've done professionally. Personally, I have a lot that I'm working on. In fact, I'm reading this book right now. It's called it's on the table. It's called The Disciplines of a Godly Man. I'm actually reading, just in full disclosure, 4 different books all at the same time. Because I like to read. So when you
got cool glasses like that, you got to read.
The one that I have right here is another book. This is my devotional book called Trust and Obey. But the book that I'm reading for work right now, which actually I really, really like it. This is and it was referred by one of our friends, Joel. So it's called the Bitcoin Standard. I'm not done because I'm reading 4 books, but anyways, I'm always reading something.
I cannot do that. I cannot go from book to book to book. I have to start one and read it the whole way through. I don't read it though. I listen to audiobooks.
Let me help with that if I can. So the way I manage my day, a lot of times people ask me, how do you get so much done every single day? Well, I utilize what's called a block schedule. Okay. Yeah. And so the block schedule allows me to work on different tasks for a certain amount of time and then switch gears and work on a different task for a different amount of time. And so before I adopted that, Travis, I was just like you. It would drive me insane to try to read 2 books at one time. But once I started to kind of get into that mindset where I could shift gears, pardon my expression here, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but I started to think more like a woman in the fact that I could multitask. I could multitask better. So I'm not.
Is that how you think, Carol? Are you upset right now? Let's get down to this.
No, I'm not upset at all. I mean, I completely multitask. This is just part of my job as a mom, right? You'd have to shift gears at a moment.
most women I know have like 17 things going on in their brain all at the same time or more. Men don't.
That's why nobody can ever catch up with your conversation, because you've moved on to the next one. They're like, did you just change the subject?
You got to push in the clutch. You
shit.
ride motorcycles.
Yeah.
You can't change
I
yours
could change that
without grabbing
subject
the
3
clutch.
times in the same sentence.
That's right. And then I have people asking me like, are we still on the same subject? Are you, or have we moved on? I'm like, fuck, we moved on. Sorry.
We definitely moved on. Yeah. Well, anyways, so in that book, what I love about it, and this is, again, if you guys are interested in the book, it's called Disciplines of a Godly Man. He breaks it down, the author breaks it down into section, right? So there's family section, friendship section, marriage section, devotions. And I love it because some of the parts that I've been struggling with, you know, look, we're a whole person. And so you're going to have things that you do really well, and you're going to have things where there's deficits. And I think the goal is not to try to be perfect, which is an impossible task, but to try to be well balanced. Right?
Yeah.
So kind of like what you were talking about earlier, Travis, about the people that are bragging about how many hours they work. And trust me, I used to be that guy, and I'll go toe to toe with anybody. Because when I launched Project Help You Grow back in 2018, for 18 months, I only slept 2 hours a day. I'm talking about the whole 18 months, 2 hours a day for 18 months straight. That will kill most people, but I was able to do it. So I know how to work hard. I know how to work long hours, but the bottom line is, what was I not doing? It almost cost me my marriage back in 2018. Honestly, my wife was like, I can't continue if this is how it's going to be. We need to do something different. I'm like, okay, let's figure some stuff out. Right. So you got to have time built in. If it's important to you, you should have some time for it on the schedule. Right. Here's just some advice, some life advice from a hack who's not doing a very good job at some of the stuff, but I'm working on it. Okay. Forget your money. Your money can be worked on. You can get more money. You know what you can't get more of? Time. Time is the only fixed asset we have, right? So if you want to brag about how awesome you're doing in life, show me how you're spending your time. Equal parts giving it to what you're working on professionally, how you're trying to develop yourself personally, how you're spending time with your significant other, if you have one, and how you're spending time with your kids. What are you doing to help others beyond all that, right? There's more to life than just how many hours I put in on the time clock, right?
Well, I think people are so singularly focused.
Yeah, because think of it like a stool or a chair, right? If you're missing a leg or two, that chair is going to fall over. Yeah, and that's where I'm at. Honestly, that's where I'm at. I have a super strong, like I have Arnold Schwarzenegger arms and Pee Wee Herman legs.
like most guys at the gym.
Yeah. Right. You know what I mean? Like I need to work on, and I'm starting. I've acknowledged it, which is a hard thing to do. It was a humbling thing to do, honestly. Right. It took a lot for me to look in the mirror and go, you have fallen down here and here. And I'm not asking anybody's opinion on that. That's my own assessment of myself. So, okay, throttle back some of the stuff you're doing professionally.
You know what I'm really loving is you guys are using motorcycle terms here. Throttle back, changing gears. Love you guys.
I'm trying to.
We want to make sure you can keep up with the conversation, Carol.
Oh shit!
So I like analogies. I love to use analogies because it helps people understand. Like I have dyslexia, so sometimes I use the wrong word or I say the wrong word. I know what I wanted to say, but some other word comes out of my mouth. So I like analogies because it does help me to make sure people can understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, you know, we were sitting there and we kind of glossed over it, but some of the challenges you were facing with being a parent of 8, right? And one of your children has special needs. And would you like to kind of elaborate on that a little?
Sure. So it's really hard because none of our children were born with special needs. Okay, so they were all born healthy and normal, and everything was just, we were, I mean, a large family, of course, but everybody was fine. In fact, my daughter, who's now 14, until she was 13, she was in school, functioning completely normal, completely healthy, other than she had a large amount of, an abnormal amount of allergies. And then she had some issues, and I don't want to embarrass her, but she had some developmental issues with her female track. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to leave it at that. That's no one's business. But anyway, she had some mild issues, but nothing like that was holding her back from doing anything in her life. Okay. Honor student in school, participated in all kinds of extracurricular activities. One day back in August of 2021, she woke up in the middle of the night with a bellyache. And like any good parents, we're like, take some time to get your butt back to bed. You know what I mean? Like this ain't newsworthy stuff here. Anyways, the stomach ache never went away. Okay, so 3 days later, it actually had intensified to the point where we were starting to get a little worried. My wife actually took her to the emergency room, which I actually thought was a little bit premature, but you know, my wife is more sensitive and in tune. So away they went. That led to a discovery of a lot of problems. My daughter ended up being paralyzed from the chest down. At one point, she was basically what we considered her deathbed. She was blind. She couldn't move. She couldn't see. She couldn't do anything. She couldn't eat. She was on an NG tube and oxygen and all these things, and they didn't expect her to make it. And so really bad. She's been in and out of the hospital, I think 7 times now. She's been admitted to the hospital. So what makes it so challenging is nobody knows what's wrong with her. It's like,
oh my God, really?
It's like a show of House, if you remember the show.
God, I
House.
love that show. Yeah.
Only in this episode, they never figure out what's wrong, at least to this point. And she's been to the House of Southern California, by the way. They reference
with all the specialists and stuff, and
yeah. So rheumatologists, I forget what it's called, but anyways, they're the people that you go to when, I think it's rheumatologist is what it's called. Again, I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on TV, so bear with me for my medical. I don't even know what the word to say there is, but anyway,
this is an unapologetic show. You're just going to say,
yeah. So I mean, I'm not a doctor, right? But she's been seen by every specialist category in 3 different hospitals, including UCLA, what we call CHOC, which is Children's Hospital Orange County, and then Loma Linda Children's Hospital here in Southern California. She's been seen by all of those specialists. They have teams. I believe there's 8 different teams in most of those that she's been seen by: psychiatry, psychiatric, GI, the brain folks, the general peds. I mean, it's Eastern medicine and Western medicine in CHOC. She's been seen by countless specialists outside, because when she's outpatient, she's still getting all kinds of different help. Occupational therapy, physical therapy in the hospital and out of the hospital. She's had EEGs and X-rays and CAT scans, and she's had
there's been like 0 improvement whatsoever.
So think of my daughter's health experience kind of like a roller coaster ride. Okay, it hasn't been a straight line up or down. We have had times of improvement. In fact, early on, after her deathbed experience, or what we thought was her deathbed, but which wasn't, she never actually died. You know, she wasn't resuscitated. She never went away. My son actually, who just graduated high school, a different story, but he actually drowned and was pronounced dead. He flatlined for about 1.5 minutes, but they were able to bring him back. Different story. But this one, she never got that far. Okay. So the point that I said where she was blind, she couldn't see, she couldn't walk, she couldn't move anything. She lost her voice. She still can't speak. Well, I say that, but she can whisper. So if you get your head really, really close to her, you can hear what she's saying. When I say that, I mean, basically you got to put your ear on her mouth. So she has some audible, but not the full use of her voice. What's weird is now she can move her legs when she's asleep. There's something that's going on in her brain. And I think what it is partly is a defense mechanism, or when your body is in survival mode, it shuts things down so that your life-sustaining organ process systems can run fully. And that's what I believe is happening when she's awake, because it requires more
So much energy.
effort. But when she's asleep, it requires less. And I think that frees her up. Now, I'm not a medical doctor. That's just my best guess, because no medical doctor has actually been able to figure this out. So my wife, my wife is an amazing person. She has been studying and talking to people and trying to figure this out. And she's been chasing things down, possibilities down. And the doctors, some of them have been following actually some of what she's saying and trying to do tests. And so she's working like a team member in the process. I have been overwhelmed by it, and I'm not a doctor and I don't have time to study like my wife. So I've actually kind of on purpose stayed out of it to a certain extent, because it's like, I don't want to have an opinion that's uninformed and then stop somebody from doing something that can actually help. So I'm like, I default to my wife. I trust her. She's really smart anyways. And on this, she's way smarter than me. So there's that. And that's kind of how our relationship has been for 22 years. It's kind of like, instead of fighting with each other over differing opinions or different management styles, because we do have we were raised differently, and we have the same intent a lot of times, but we have a different way that we would go about getting there. So it's like, okay, I don't want to fight with you, so I would rather just default to you, and then the things that you want me to be in charge of, just default to me and let me trust me that I will do the right thing, and I'll trust you to do the right thing. So that's kind of how we've done it. So if you're having a conversation about the medical stuff, my wife would be able to answer all your questions.
Okay.
Diatribe. For me, I could tell you this: we have seen progress. We've seen a lot of progress because we were next to death. And at one point, my daughter was not ever able to fully stand up on her own and support her own weight, but she had full use of her arms, and she could, with help in physical therapy, stand assisted. There was like a flu type of a thing that came to our house, like a virus that came through. And part of what my daughter has is inflammation of the brain. Okay. And so this virus was a major setback at that time that it went through. All the kids were sick. My wife and I got sick. My daughter got sick, but it affected her in a different way. There was a regression, a cognitive regression that happened, a physical regression that happened. And a lot of the gains that we had made, like 90% of the gains we made, she lost. And it
can I ask, because obviously inflammation is the cause of a lot of issues in humans. Sure. Has the medical profession ever even tried to prescribe something like a hyperbaric chamber?
So she has done some of that stuff in the hospital. She has changed her diet. She's changed her medication. We have tried. I mean, I hate to say this because it sounds obnoxious, I think, but it's true. It's like, when I tell you that there's been 40 teams of doctors that have seen her, I'm not exaggerating. It's over 40. I just don't know how many. Okay.
How old is she now?
She's 14.
Can I ask? Okay.
So,
and when did the symptoms actually start?
So they started August 26th, I believe, of last year. Anyways, that's when she was checked into the hospital. So many different doctors, specialists. I mean, I'm talking about the brightest in Southern California. And even we've consulted with doctors across the country. When I tell you that they're all stumped, it always, what I hear people go on Facebook or whatever, hey, have you tried this vitamin or, this supplement, or, why don't you do this type of thing? And I'm like, yeah,
it's tough.
If it was something that you could Google, you know what I mean, or something.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but they would have found it. That already. I'm talking about the brightest of the bright here.
Mm-hmm.
No, I know. It's
a weird thing, but there's a couple things going on together. It's a brain issue, right? We know it's a brain issue because you can't be paralyzed while you're awake and not paralyzed while you're asleep and have it be a physical systems issue, right? So there is a signal blockage somehow.
Yeah, there's a disconnect somewhere.
Yeah, there's a disconnect. So it has something to do with the brain for sure. And one of the natural doctors, and we're seeing a lot of natural doctors. We've talked to a lot of natural doctors, and we don't discount the natural stuff at all. So one of the guys said it's probably something in her core, in her spinal cord, that's been pinched, right? That blocks the connection. And so we've tried some like massage therapies, and what is that where they do the
Acupuncture. I do it.
right?
Yeah, I do it like twice a month.
Electric nodes and
TENS therapy.
Yeah, TENS therapy and hypnosis and meditation. We're trying all of that stuff. Like, we are not predisposed to any solution, or we have not discounted any potential solution. Like, if somebody brings me a solution and says, hey, we had something kind of like this, try that, I send it all to my wife. She runs it by, well, our main doctor is just I hate to say is a peds guy, pediatrician, right? But then we also have a specialist that's a natural holistic doctor. And my wife actually thinks it's something to do with the mitochondria. It's a mitochondrial disease, which
all the way down to the cellular level. Yeah.
That would be devastating because there would be no cure.
Right. Well, that's interesting, because I know the mother passes mitochondria unchanged to the kid. So it would have the same problem in everyone's mitochondria coming from her.
Right.
But it's really interesting. We've gone really deep on this, and I want to not really shift gears, but I want to talk about my wife a little bit, because she's been through 42 surgeries and procedures herself. And for every one of those, she had at least 10 visits to figure out what was going on. She was fainting when she was a teenager, really, stressed out. It coincided with her cycle. There was all these different things that happened, but all of the doctors in our area got her nothing. And then we joined the military and went out to California, and none of those doctors could find anything. And then we went across to Oklahoma City, and all the doctors in Oklahoma City at Tinker Air Force Base, they knew nothing. And it wasn't until we got specific specialists and talked to the right person, which is crazy, to find her endometriosis. There was like a nurse that just came on staff for like 2 days and happened to do a test and be like, I know exactly what this is. And we got her in, and we got the surgery done, and there was 12 surgeries and chemically induced menopause and all this stuff. And then she had stuff that my wife just had brain surgery in February. But this was a 35-year trek to figure out that a Chiari type 1 malformation caused the vast majority of her symptoms. But it wasn't until that we found the right people, we had the right MRI, and then we had to get a referral to Johns Hopkins, fly across the country 3 times to get the surgery done before she got any relief. So I understand your struggle. It's so heartbreaking to deal with. Long-term care of people really wears down everyone within the system, especially within the housing system. Whoever you got at your home and your business and everything else, it puts a strain on absolutely everything.
Right? Because we didn't have, like I said, nobody was special needs. We didn't have any of this stuff. I have a hospital room in my front. When you walk in my house, the very first thing you see is a hospital room. Mm-hmm. We have everything that you would find in a hospital room in my front room. My daughter's on an NG feeding tube, right? So, I mean, she still can't eat. So we have to feed her that way.
Ira. And then this all goes back to, obviously, what you do for a living and how much time, it takes away from all of that as well. And so trying to find that balance is, I mean, it seems insurmountable.
Yeah, it's been a challenge of our life. The last year, I mean, Travis could tell you much better than I could, but the last year of our life has been the hardest year by a million miles. And I've made some mistakes. I asked my daughter to cut a semester of college short and come home to help because I was so busy with work. And now I understand that there's some resentment for that. And, now I feel bad for doing it, but
the conversation has been opened too. And that's a good conversation to have with her.
Yeah. So I'll have that conversation. She's not here to have it. I just learned about the resentment while she was gone. So my wife and my kids are up in the Bay Area. They've been there for 2 weeks. They're coming home tomorrow. So they'll be back home tomorrow. But Travis, I wanted to ask you something. So one thing that we've heard a lot, especially in the beginning, was this is all in her. It's all in her head. They kept trying to make this like a psychiatric, like Is she?
Oh.
And I'm like, are you kidding? She's faking not being able to eat.
The
She's
the
faking
way
being
the
paralyzed
way
to be
that
in her
they're
kid.
saying it to you is enraging, right?
Oh, we
But
heard it. We heard it by multiple
that's what they told
doctors.
my wife for 40 years.
That's what I'm saying.
And
Yeah.
and I know
Okay.
who my wife is. You know who your daughter is, right? I know my wife grew up on a farm in a German family, and they are hardworking, dedicated, loyal people. And she's like, I'm
Yeah.
in this pain, I'm in this thing. And we had a situation where we were on base here, and we kind of heard the nurse walk out of the room. It was like typical, just seeking drugs. And I called her in here. I was like, get your ass back in here. I heard what you fucking said. I was super pissed. I was like, pull up her chart right now in front of us and find a single fucking opioid in her chart anywhere. We don't give a fuck about the drugs. We want the solution to the problem. She went back through, and there was 15 years in there, and not a single time was she prescribed opioids. I was like, now get the head of the hospital in here.
Yeah.
Because this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, they're assuming that she's just drug seeking because they can't find the cause, just because you're not aware of how something works in the body. And for those of you that don't know, like, the specialists aren't even specialists. Like, you go to a neurologist who specializes in migraines, that person went through pre-med, went through medical school, went to neurology, focused on that. All the other stuff in the head and the brain, they don't know about it. Their specialty is just migraines. So even though a Chiari malformation is at the back of the skull where the spinal column comes in, her her neurologist had no idea how to do it, because they focused down so far on this little tiny slice.
It's a minute,
that even if Ira has seen a specialist for his daughter that's close to that area, might have no clue about the thing, and then finding the right specialist, because we went through this stuff. Like, we did all these tests. We went to a specialist in town, a neurosurgeon, and he was like, I can't fix this surgically. Like, why are you even talking to me? Like, that arrogant about setting an appointment with him. And then we went on a group, and I was like, this is a thing. My wife had to research into a Facebook group for Chiari and get some conversations, found someone in state in Oklahoma. There's not a Chiari specialist in the state. Right. And it's like, well, how did you do it? Well, I got a referral to TRICARE. I went up to Johns Hopkins and saw Dr. Eric Jackson, the foremost expert on this specific procedure, he took over for Dr. Ben Carson. We went out there, and, like, wonderful man, spent like an hour and a half with us for an appointment, which over the last 6 visits of her neurologist didn't get an hour and a half of time. Right. And he sat down, and he's like, well, here's the thing, here's the dangers, here's this, then the other. And he's like, also, there's a couple of things that we can try, because if we can fix the symptoms from an external procedure, then doing the surgery would have nothing to do with the results. Right. We could do the surgery to do the thing, but if the symptoms are being affected in another way, then it's not this causing the symptoms. And we're like, well, that was easy. And I feel like any other doctor could have said that. So we went back, and we had the tilt table test done, and a couple other tests done, a different MRI. He came in, no, it's good. Like, what do you think? I was like, we're going to do it. We go out, and we didn't have it done. And my wife woke up for the first time in 40 years, didn't have a headache.
Wow. That's huge.
But it took
all
of that stuff to go through all those doctors.
Nobody's ever going to apologize to you for that.
I don't need the apology. I don't care whose fault it is, but don't say it's not our neurologist says it's not this when he's not the expert. Just say that you're not the expert and you need to consult with someone else.
How about I don't know?
I'm not familiar with this. I need to talk to
I
someone
don't know.
else. Some people are unwilling to say that they're not the expert. Just fucking say you don't know. I do podcasts. I do them fairly well.
It's worse than that, though. From our experience, it's been they try to make you feel stupid and that you're making stuff up. And they are the experts, and you are just the lowly parent. It's like, okay,
you're uneducated.
On it. I mean, like, don't try to make me feel
understand.
ignorant or stupid for not knowing this shit. That's your job. And the fact that she still says something's wrong, and I believe her, means either you can't find it or you need to find someone that can.
Yeah. Well, I will say this: my wife, who is a much more patient person than I am, who is frankly much kinder than I am. she's had to bear most of the brunt of this, because
Yeah.
I personally would probably be in prison right now if I had to deal with all these people.
If I would have went to that last appointment with my wife with the surgeon in town here, I probably would have popped him in the mouth. I can't surgically help you. What are you doing in my office?
Yeah,
You had her do all these tests. You want to explain why you can't do anything surgically? And then he was wrong anyway, because we got it fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, the thing that I want to leave everybody with on this part of it, if you experience something that isn't a classic diagnosis, a case that is common, don't just take the first person's word for it, whatever they say, because as Travis said, a lot of these quote unquote specialists are not specialists in as much as you think they are. And it is amazing the differences of opinion just going from 3 hospitals here in Southern California, and the different types of things that they specialize in and the type of care that they offer. They really want to get your insurance money. And as soon as the insurance money stops, or as soon as the insurance money is not available for what, they want to do, then they just want to get you out of their way. I could tell you a story. I will tell you a story. I was discharged. My daughter was discharged with, she basically was crashing. She was crashing. Okay. What does that mean? That means she can't eat. She can't function. Just, we're done with her. We want you to go to another hospital. They couldn't get the other hospital, so we were at Loma Linda, and they wanted to get us over to Chalk, but we couldn't get the Chalk approved because we're at the hospital that's closest to us in our coverage, what our insurance provides. So we had been at at Loma Linda for like 3.5 weeks, and I guess we were out of insurance money. So they're just like, we're discharging you. And I'm like, how? She cannot eat. She can't eat. What are we supposed to do? Right? At that point, we didn't have a NG tube something at home. And they actually ordered one for us. Isn't that nice? But it wasn't here. So
did you find secondary insurance or a nonprofit to help you with these medical costs?
I mean, I haven't to this date. And I've had a lot of people say, hey, you should start a GoFundMe, but I have a personal belief system that doesn't allow me to do that, because I think GoFundMe is for people with more important needs than what I've got, right? So there's people that are struggling worse. So I'm not doing
right, but just because someone is struggling worse doesn't mean that other person's dollar is going to go to your daughter instead of someone else. Maybe they would never ever donate to anybody except for your cause.
Yeah.
So you're not taking money out of someone else's pocket.
I probably need to reevaluate my position, but I'm just telling you where I've been and why I haven't done it.
Well, there's a lot of people that feel that way. Same with veterans that serve. They won't go to the VA for anything because they feel like if they're getting benefits that someone else has it worse, that they're taking benefits out of someone else's pocket. That's not true.
No, I need psychology, brother. Help me out. I mean,
here's the deal. Here's the deal. What if it was specifically a dollar issue? And you raised $13 million, and the person that had the answer the entire time doesn't accept your insurance, but is going to take all of that money and can fix your daughter by the end of the month.
We're paying out of pocket. Okay.
Right.
So we have insurance. We're going and taking advantage as much as we can of everything that insurance provides, but we also have been paying out of pocket. Okay.
Yeah,
I've spent thousands and thousands.
So it's a financial burden as well.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
But there's people that love you, that care about
in multiple ways, not just the
No,
cost.
of course.
Yeah.
Well, I know you. I know you're a great guy, and I know that every time I need help with something, you take the time out of your day to help me with my thing. I know Carol has the same thing, and I know a dozen people that feel the same way about you. What you're doing right now is robbing everyone that you've helped the opportunity to bless you in return.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why can't people bless you? Why can't people bless you, Ira?
Because I'm stubborn.
Because we can do it right now and set up a GoFundMe page on your behalf for your benefit. In fact, I'm going to do it.
I need a tissue.
People fucking love you, Ira. You're a fantastic guy.
Me too.
You take care
of
not only the 10 of you in the household, right? you and your wife and the 8 kids, but all the
Well,
people that you help mentor and guide with all the things you do with LinkedIn and Instagram. You're one of the top guys on LinkedIn that built a LinkedIn first profile. Yeah, there's stars and this and that come in. They have 5. They already had a following. You built your following from the ground up, from Project Help You Grow, out of your pocket to help other people get jobs. You have
Exactly.
done nothing but bless everyone in your universe for the last, I don't know how old you are, 40 plus years, 45 years, and you deserve to let other people
Well,
have
I
the
will
chance
say
to
this,
bless you.
that's very kind, and I've done my best to help others, but I'm far from perfect. My family life.
You don't want to
is
be
a
perfect
testament
anyway.
that
The
I'm
last guy that
not
was
perfect.
perfect, they crucified. Ain't no one going to be perfect.
Thank God for him.
Seriously.
No,
Seriously.
I'm serious too. Thank God for him. That's the only hope I have.
Yeah. Well, let's switch gears, guys, because Ira is an incredible individual, and the stuff that he's done on social media, we should probably get to that too. It was definitely.
Most people want to talk to me.
Well, no, and because it is quite a remarkable story. So I'd like to hear how you went from 0 to as many followers as you have today, and how you're helping other people. And again, this goes back to you helping other people achieve some of those goals themselves.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I could take an hour just on this topic alone. So I'll try to give you just like maybe a 3-minute brief overview, and then we can jump into any of the details that you want. So back in 2018, well, first of all, I joined LinkedIn in 2009. Okay, August of 2009 is when I signed up for my account, and I didn't really use it in any interesting or creative way. I think I was using it the way most people in sales work. I was in sales. I was looking for a research tool that I could look up prospect information and figure out how to better communicate with people that might want the products and services that I offered. And I know this about people. If you show that you're interested in somebody, they're far more likely to be interested in you. Okay, so when I say a research tool, that's what I mean. I want to figure out where you went to school, what are your hobbies, what are your professional goals, those kinds of things. You can find a lot of that out on LinkedIn. So I'm not talking about Sales Navigator. The way people are misusing LinkedIn now is they're using Sales Navigator or some lead generator and spamming people with all these DMs, which is ridiculous because you're just burning bridges at a rampant pace. But what I'm talking about is actually going and spending 5 to 10 minutes on Travis Johnson's profile and getting to know as much as I can about him. Then when I see Travis Johnson in person, because that's what I was doing, I was taking the time to find information on you, then go see you, whether it be a networking event or at your office, and then talking to you about things that are in your profile. Not necessarily saying, hey, I went to LinkedIn and I saw that you're interested in blah, 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 blah. I actually would try to just work it into the conversation. Like if I was looking up Carol, I'd be like, oh, my dad loves Harley Davidsons and I'm a photographer. I love taking his picture. That's one of the things I like to do. And you'd be like, oh, well, I'm into motorcycles. I mean, a little different type of motorcycle, but it opens the conversation. Like you just kind of work it in there, right? I personally, I'm not a motorcycle guy, and it's not because I wouldn't want to. I would love to, but when I was healthy enough to do it, I couldn't afford it. And now that I'm wealthy enough to do it, I'm not healthy enough. If that makes sense, right? I have back injuries, so it's not a sport that I can really do. So anyways, but that's how I used LinkedIn from 2009 to 2018. Research tool, find out more about people, and then working in conversations to build rapport. That's what I wanted to do. In 2018, as I referenced in my TEDx talk, I heard one of my connections, his name's Mike O'Connor. He was talking about, how LinkedIn works, and what he was saying, it was kind of brash. He's a brash guy, but he's honest, right? He's honest. Actually, he's so honest that he comes across as brash. So he had said in his video, hey, if you're smart, call me. And his phone number was in his profile. Now, I am not super intelligent, but I was smart enough to know that he was onto something. So I called him. I had a 2.5-hour commute from San Francisco to my house in Manteca, which was just outside the Bay Area, just south of Stockton. 55 miles takes 2.5 hours to drive it on a good day.
Ugh.
So he had that time. So we talked the whole 2.5 hours. In fact, I hung up on him when I got to the driveway, said, hey, man, this has been awesome, life-changing even. And now I got to go. All right, because I'm home. So got off the phone. But anyways, what he told me, a couple things that I didn't know. I didn't understand how LinkedIn really worked. Why is there a first, second, and third level connection for one, right? What is the point of that? And with that information, then he said, how many people are you connected to? Because you need to connect with people in like Africa, in Australia, in Saudi Arabia, and these places that Nigeria scared the freaking heck out of me. Okay, really, because stranger danger. Isn't that what we're all taught? Stranger danger, right? I mean, I'm just trying to make it simple, but that's the truth. We're afraid we're going to get scammed, con artist, whatever. And I didn't understand how LinkedIn worked at all. So once he explained over 2.5-hour period, and we talked about some other things too, but he explained what is a first level, second level, and third level. Why is it so important? Why do you want to connect with people outside of your industry, outside of your area? Why? When he explained those things to me. Now, I'm a person, again, I'm not necessarily the smartest of people, but I'm one of those guys that I'm really good at applying what I learned. So I took what I learned that day and said, hey, I have from 2009 to 2018, I had 1,520 connections. I had only 1,400 followers, which means 120 people that connected to me thought I was so interesting they unfollowed me, but they were still connected. So I'm that interesting, right? But I thought, okay, well, when I first started, my Rolodex had about 500 people in it. So that means over a 9-year period, I was gaining about 100 people a year. So I said, wouldn't it be cool if I could create this apparatus to help me get a year's worth of growth in 2 weeks? This is how big my thinking was, right? I want 100 people to connect with me in a 2-week period. And that would be amazing. That's what I was thinking. So I came up with this idea and I called it Project Help You Grow. The idea was this, was a growth incubator. This was the idea. Growth incubator. I'm going to get 99 strangers to join me in this growth incubator. We're all going to blindly accept each other because I'm facing the same problem a lot of people are. You want to grow on LinkedIn, but you're out of natural connections, right? You don't know 30,000 people, and that's the limit on LinkedIn. So how do you get to 30,000 if you're unknown? Well, you have to blindly accept some connection requests. That's the honest truth. Nobody wants to admit that because they feel like it makes them dirty. It doesn't make you dirty. It makes you smart. Let me explain this. 30,000 connection limit. Think of them like a fuse in a fuse box. How much power are you using? If you have 30,000 fuse slots and you only have 1,520 like I did, you're running how much of your max capacity? Very, very little. And why does that matter? It comes back to what are the first, second, and third level connections on LinkedIn all about? It's about visibility. If you're past third level connection with somebody on LinkedIn, you will not ever see their posts unless you go specifically and search their name, but you don't know them. So how would you search their name is the question I would ask you. Okay. So they're not going to be in your feed. They're not going to show up when you search hashtags. They're just, it's like they're there, but they're not really there. When you connect with more people and get them in your first, second, and third, now all of a sudden you can start to see their stuff. And guess what? They can start to see your stuff. Okay. So I can go into as much detail as you want about that. But anyways, that was the idea. So it's like, okay, I need to grow. I need to increase the bandwidth of my visibility, both what I can see and what others can see. That's what my challenge was. So 100 people, because I'm thinking that's a year's worth of growth in 2 weeks. Well, here's what happened. I made a post about it because I don't know 99 people to even invite. I said, hey, who wants to join this thing called Project Help You Grow? It's a growth incubator. In 2 weeks, you're going to blindly connect with 99 other people and me. Okay. The post, day I made the post was May of 2018. I gained 400 new connections that day.
In one day.
In one day.
Oh my God.
I had 1,520 connections. By the time 24 hours had hit, I was almost at 2,000.
Oh my God.
One day. So again, I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I'm like, that's Yahtzee. But why does it have to stop? Right.
Right.
And I didn't even really get to implement the growth, the project, because it was already 4 times what I originally thought. So here's what I did. I created a group page called Project Help You Grow by Ira Bowman. Still exists. You can join it on LinkedIn if you want. Okay. So a group page, thinking that, okay, this will be the growth incubator. To join the group, you had to be connected with me, which that helped me grow. Okay. That alone helped me grow because everybody wanted in, they had to connect with me. But if they wouldn't connect with me, like, to be in the group, you have to connect with everybody else in the group. You have to connect with everybody. I didn't know it was going to get so big, right? That was the condition of joining. Well, I went from 2018, May of 2018, 1,520 connections, to the end of December 2018, I had 25,000 connections.
Oh my God.
By February of 2019, I hit 30,000. I was maxed out. Now I'm at the cap, and I've been at the cap ever since. Okay. So then I had to change the rules in Project Help You Grow the group and let everybody in, but they're supposed to connect with as many as they can, right? So when they send a connection request, if they're in Project Help You Grow, they're just supposed to say, hey, I'm a part of Project Help You Grow. Now, I haven't been monitoring that for years, so I doubt people are actually still doing it, but the group exists. It's pretty much a dormant group at this point because I don't do much in it. The way LinkedIn treats groups is not friendly to promoting your personal posts. So until they fix that, I've kind of stepped away from groups, but there are advantages to groups. Now, anyways, that's a long intro, but here's what happened. Project Help You Grow helped me grow my visibility. I launched in 2018, September of 2018, a website to help job seekers connect with recruiters and employers, and a secondary function was to train candidates how to better go about finding a job, because frankly, most of them are out of a job because their strategy is awful. So how do you write a resume? What is the ATS? How do you prepare for an interview? How do you do research on the market so you know what income, salary to even ask for? All kinds of things. What is fractional work? So many different topics. And then I have a show that I did called Project Podcast. And I had about 50 different people on the show, interviewed them. They were, resume writers and HR folks and all kinds of different people to help. Anyways, all this is a 100% free resource. I never took a dime from anybody for it, except for I did have a couple sponsors for a while. I had Pana Nose sponsored me and a couple others that were in and out real quick. But so I did have some help there. But ZipRecruiter jumped in real early. And ZipRecruiter wanted access to all of my international jobs because this works around the world. And so we traded. You can have access to my jobs. I want access to yours. So they gave me an API key, and every job that's on ZipRecruiter since September of 2018 has also been on Project Help You Grow. So you can go get all the ZipRecruiter jobs without getting any of the spam from ZipRecruiter, because on my site, you don't even have to have a profile. So that helped people see my heart, that I'm not a selfish person. And that is what I believe led so many people to want to follow me on social media. Anyways, fast forward to 2020, I got laid off in May of 2020. And when I got laid off, because at that point I had 150,000 followers on LinkedIn. And I knew from my work with Project Help You Grow that the average job search pre-COVID-19 was 6.5 months in the United States. So in other words, if you were looking for a job, on average, you could expect it to take 6.5 months before you found a job. Now that's across the board. Industries vary, types of work, level of pay, all those things make a difference. But I didn't have 6.5 months worth of money in the bank. In fact, I don't think I had 2 full months of money in the bank, honestly. So I took a bold step, as we talked about. I said, okay, I'm just going to launch my business. And what am I going to do? What my business does is my business takes advantage of my social media flamethrower, and it helps small businesses increase their visibility right away. And then we have a bunch of other stuff that we do with SEO and things that we do with graphic design and anyways, all kinds of services, but they're all designed for one purpose. The same thing that I needed to figure out to get Project Help You Grow, because I've never spent any money on marketing for Project Help You Grow. It's all been organic. So in figuring all that stuff out, then I've just replicated what I did for them for all my other clients. And that's how I got to where I am. So again, a little bit over 3 minutes there, but there's kind of the story.
You actually got the opportunity to do a TED Talk about just this very topic. And if I remember correctly, everything that you say and everything you talk about, everything is built on relationships and providing value, that you believe commenting on other people's posts, a valuable comment, at least 5 words or more, that has something to do with how amazing it is the number one way to get connections and build relationships.
It's true. I learned, and we've talked about rapport before, and even how I was using LinkedIn, which is different than the way a lot of people use it. But even if you weren't trying to build rapport, which would be a mistake, right? If you weren't trying to build relationships, the comments would still be the better way to go about using social media on every single platform. Because let's say for argument's sake, you have 2,500 followers, 2,500 connections, whatever, subscribers, followers, friends. Pick your platform, they say different things. Okay. You're 2,500. I don't care what platform you're on. This actually works for all of them. You make a post, and there's this thing called an algorithm. The algorithm is going to determine how many people see your post based on your response rates, your engagement rates. Okay. How many people click on it, how long they view it. Do they click the read more? Do they follow the link? All that stuff is measured, weighed and measured. And then based on that response rate, you get shown more to more people. Now, your splash rate, which is what I call it, is determined by the size of your network on every single platform. Okay. So I don't care if you're on YouTube. I don't care if you're on Twitter. I don't care if you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you are. All right. Your splash rate is determined by your size because it's a percentage of your network. That's why. So build your following, you'll have a bigger splash rate. But the danger, the flip side of that is if you're connecting to people you don't know, that response rate can actually be bad unless you do what I'm about to talk about. Okay.
Well, I want to brush on that really quick.
Let me finish this because it's so important. So important.
Okay.
So important.
You finish.
The comment that you make is being fed into the other person's pool. Mm. So let's say you take 5 minutes, which would be a extreme fast post content creation. Basically, you just threw something up. But normally people are taking more like 15 minutes to 30 minutes to craft, some type of artwork, to find a meme or whatever, and then to figure out their words and find the right hashtags and all that stuff. So let's say you're doing 15 or 30 minutes, whatever. But how many comments, intelligent comments, can you make in that 5-minute window or that 10-minute window or that 15-minute window? Certainly more than one, right? But now, if you're doing my strategy correctly, like what you just said, 5 or more value-added words, not just, hey, cool post, or I agree, or something whitewashed, right? But something that's, let's say we're talking to Carol, and Carol had just made a post about her book that was released today. And I go onto one of her posts and I go, hey, congratulations, Carol, on that book. I am excited to see how it performs. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help. I make that comment. Now, what do you think Carol's going to do? Do you think she's going to ignore it? Probably not. She's going to take notice of it. I guarantee it. But even if she doesn't, everybody else that sees it's going to go, wow, that's more than 3 words here. And it wasn't just a flippant comment. That was like, that's a cool dude. Now, that took me 60 seconds, let's say. I make 4 more of those in 5 minutes. Now I'm going to go to people like Simon Sinek and Gary Vee, talking about stars, Tim Tebow, people that have millions of followers, right? Natural followers. Then I'm going to come to people like Ira Bowman. I'm going to go to somebody like Tao Lau or Soheeb, some of my friends. They have 1 million followers or couple 100,000 followers like me, right? He'll make a comment. And guess what? I'll bet you more people see those 5 comments by about 100 times to 1,000 times than what would see your post. What got you more visibility? What got you more credibility? Because what is everybody's favorite topic? Now, this isn't everybody.
Themselves.
But most people, yeah, they're interested in what they're doing. They're interested in what they're talking about. So if you show interest in what they're talking about, now I can talk about strategies all day long, but if you do that enough, you're going to find enough people to go, that's the kind of dude or that's the kind of chick that I want to hang out with, because they're not just self-absorbed. They're actually being proactive, helping me. That's the kind of people that I want to hang out with.
Yeah.
If you do that 80% of the time that you're on social media, whatever platform you're on, you will grow like a weed, but you'll not just grow for numbers' sake. You're going to build relationships with people, because I promise you, most people will fight fire with fire. They will do tit for tat. You know,
Absolutely.
you give to get. So if I come to Carol's post today and go, hey, congratulations on that book. I'm so excited to see how it does. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help. She's not only likely to respond on her comment, she's most likely going to find something of mine that she can reciprocate. And
Right.
now it's paying off exponentially. And
Right,
so
because
it's so
now
important.
it's a bunch of people. Yeah,
this whole
helping each
strategy
other.
increases your visibility, increases your likability. Even if Carol never responds, everybody who sees it will think, wow, Ira's a pretty cool dude. And they may not respond that first time, but they may.
But by the way, they may gain interest, because I've had a lot of people that don't know people that have liked my stuff, and then they immediately go to their profile and then friend them.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's just an automatic. And I wish I could tell you guys how, and sorry, I had to leave temporarily. I thought I could hold it. I watered the plants like crazy, but I'm back. Today, if I could tell you yesterday what had occurred, I wasn't sure I was going to have a book launch today. And it was probably one of the most stressful things I've had to go through. We had a technicality on them publishing the book, and it took 2 days and numerous calls to the publishers to get them to release it. And I didn't find out till 8:30 last night. It was going live. Yeah. So yeah, it's nobody talks about, you know, the things that you do to get to where you are, and all the struggles and the adversity that, you know, encompass your life. They see the big shiny picture at the end and they think, oh, somehow you're lucky to get there. You didn't have to work hard. It was gifted to you, you know, and what they don't see is the struggles behind it. And there is family struggles, there's personal struggles, there's work struggles, there's all those struggles. And you know, people look at you, Ira, and they think, oh, who's he? I mean, how'd he do this? He must have gotten lucky. He must have, you know, gotten there before everybody else did. So, you know, he had some advantage. And it's like, no, dude's just a fucking hard worker.
That
I have yet to find the substitution for hard work. Everything I do, wherever I've been quote unquote lucky, I've worked pretty hard.
Create a pill. We'd make billions.
Yeah. Yeah, if it was luck, there'd be someone out there selling it right now. I wanted to mention before we wrap it up here that I tried to butt in earlier. I did the 5,000 thing on Facebook, really fought my way to get up there for more visibility and all that stuff. And it worked at the time. And then I found out that none of those people had anything to do with anything that I was doing. So although they were there, they were basically empty shells of followers. I might as well have paid someone to get, you know, a cell phone farm in India to become all my followers on Instagram, because it wasn't of any use to me. And so anytime I want to meet someone new and get connected, I have to like find someone that I don't know on my list, which is a lot of people, to get rid of them so I can add people that are of value.
I call that weeding the garden. And that you're going to find is true no matter how you build it up. Because here's what happens. You cannot stay personally involved in 5,000. Now we're talking Facebook here. 5,000 is the limit. And a lot of them have limits. In fact, 30,000 is the biggest one I know. With everybody gets mad about LinkedIn's 30,000. Like, Facebook's 5, Twitter's 5. I mean, there's a lot of rules here that people just don't know. But here's what it really is. People don't want to feel like another number. And as much as I try to help people, as much as I try to stay connected, try to engage and be involved, and I promise you, I'm probably as busy on social media as anybody that you know. In fact, I'm probably busier than most people you know added all together, because this is what I do full time, right? It's my job. So I'm really busy with it, but I hit just a fraction of the people that are in my network and the posts that they make, and I don't even see them. And I hate to tell you guys because it sounds arrogant, but my notifications don't work. It doesn't work on Twitter. It doesn't work on Instagram. It doesn't work on YouTube. I get so many notifications that they just don't work. And people don't even know what I mean by that. But here's what I mean. I am following you. We're friends. But when you post, I don't see it. So I've had to develop different techniques that are not foolproof, but different techniques to try to manage that. But when you post a few times and people comment on your posts, and then you don't reciprocate and go and make a comment on there, or they'll have like a large significant event. This book launch for Carol is a significant event. And let's say Ira, who I love Carol, she's like my sister, right? So if Ira doesn't see the post and go to the post and comment on the post, Carol might be thinking in the back of her mind, WTF, Ira? Like, seriously.
That's what she was thinking. She told me earlier.
I thought we were close.
Oh, don't you dare, Travis.
Where is Ira at? Right? Yeah. And now in full disclosure, I haven't done anything for Carol's book yet. Right? I've been preoccupied with some other stuff. But
I haven't even done anything yet.
But I'm just saying, Travis, what you're experiencing there can happen even if you build it up with 5,000 of your best friends, because I promise you that however many you can manage and keep up with, everybody else, they become disgruntled. They become like distant. They unfollow. They're like, well, he must not think I'm important or not appreciate the comments that I've made. And dude, I'm telling you, as I've grown my account, the level of hate that I've received has grown exponentially, because people think, oh, he's arrogant. Look at him. He's so self-absorbed that he doesn't even respond to my private messages. They don't realize that I get about 2,500 private messages every single day. It's impossible to keep up with my private messages. And that's just on one platform. I get emails.
You got 100,000 on Instagram. Look, we know how wonderful you are, but we have to literally wrap it up because we get 2 minutes before our next interview. Ira, where can people find you, even though you're not going to respond to them?
Well, I will respond to some, but the easiest thing to do to find me, really, if you want to find me personally, is just go to irabowman.com. It's just my name. I mean, that's pretty simple. That's my personal photography website. I own Bowman Digital Media, so you can go to Bowman Digital Media. I mean, you can just Google my name; it comes up. I'm pretty good at the SEO stuff. But projecthealthygrow.com is the job search website. You can go to LinkedIn and follow me. I do follow every single person back. If you follow me, I follow you back. The only exception to that is sometimes people don't have their settings set where I can follow you back, and that's not my fault. There's nothing I can do there. You got to open yourself up. But Instagram, I follow everybody back. My YouTube channel is growing. I'm over 10,000 followers or subscribers, they call it, on my Instagram. Twitter is a great one to follow me. I think I'm only at like 4,800 right now on Twitter.
Only 4,800.
Yeah, that's my smallest one, I think.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, if you want personal attention, follow me on Twitter, I guess.
Google the Ira. Go to bowmandigitalmedia.com or irabowman.com.
Yeah,
Ira,
all the links are on Bowman Digital Media. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being our guest today and really getting down to and sharing the struggles that you've had with your daughter over the past year. I really appreciate you being open, honest, and raw with that. It's super tough to talk about. And those that didn't watch the video, Ira had to grab a tissue. It's real. We want to have real stories. We want to know that people can do amazing things and still struggle and have many struggles they have to overcome. So thank you so much, Ira, for being our guest today.
We didn't even scratch the surface on my struggles, I promise you, but it's been therapeutic. So thanks for having me, Carol. I love you, and I will go try to promote your book a little bit for you right now.
I love you too, Ira. It was great having you.
Thank you.
That's all for this episode of Titan Evolution Podcast. We hope this no-holds-barred conversation opened your eyes on what it takes to live a genuinely happy life according to your own terms. Now that you've treated yourself to such a refreshing discussion, you cannot listen to nonsense content anymore. Be sure not to miss an episode by subscribing to the show at TitanEvolutionPodcast.com. Don't forget to share the word so more people can be enlightened, informed, and entertained. Thank you for listening.